Okay, there's a lot of things to react to right now in terms of what's happened the past 2 days for me because I've kind of been more on a writing kick. By the way, you can still read my last article, Seizing the State, which is about the Supreme Court. I'll put it in the links below. But moving on. The Kavanaugh confirmation is kind of already it's kind of fading into the back mirror, but there's still certain things that people are remembering about it. And so today, been watching a lot of things, been listening to a lot of things on the radio, and one thing that I saw yesterday, of course, was this video from Hillary Clinton, which I'll play in a second, and then the reaction to it pretty much shows how really tone deaf she is. And if this is the type of person who says, I wouldn't be like Donald Trump, I'd pretty much heal the country, then I want you to try to explain to me exactly how the hell she can say something like this and keep a straight face while saying that.
You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about. That's why I believe if we are fortunate enough to win back the House and/or the Senate, that's when civility can start again. But until then, the only thing that the Republicans seem to recognize and respect is strength. And you heard how the Republican members, led by Mitch McConnell.
So notice when she says that, Christiane Amanpour makes this kind of amused face, as if she appreciates very much Hillary Clinton's perspective on this. So you're clearly seeing a very sympathetic reaction to it.
The president really demeaned the confirmation process, insulted and attacked not only Dr. Ford, but women who were speaking out. Look, I remember Republican operatives shutting down the voting in Florida in 2000. I remember the swift boating of.
So I want to understand something. If that happened in Florida during the 2000 election, then her husband as president should have been able to do something about it. Her husband as president could have initiated a federal investigation of it, maybe provided some sort of injunction. I think that there's something weird happened in Florida in 2000, but there's not enough to have actually prosecuted somebody about it. In fact, a lot of it was probably really embellished by the Gore campaign, and this is coming from somebody I wouldn't have voted for either of those people.
John Kerry. I remember the things that even the Republican Party did to John McCain in 2000. I remember what they did to me for 25 years, the falsehoods, the lies, which unfortunately people believe because the Republicans have put a lot of time, money, and effort in promoting them. So when you're dealing with an ideological party that is driven by the lust for power, that is funded by corporate interests who want a government that does its bidding, it's hard. You can be civil, but you can't overcome what they intend to do unless you win elections.
So essentially what Hillary Clinton is saying is that because of the belief systems and because of the corporate interests of the Republican Party, you can't be civil with them. So can you be civil with the Democratic Party? Because the Democratic Party is pretty much bought by corporate interests as well. Walmart had Hillary Clinton on their board throughout much of the 80s because she was the first lady of Arkansas. This is not a person who is in any position to preach to anybody about any of the topics she's bringing up. Yes, there are bad things that the Republican Party has done if you're talking about clean politics. I would say what she's really doing is she's projecting. Because if Hillary Clinton was really an honest person here, she would admit that she was part of the culture that created the country that we became. Her, the Bushes, and Karl Rove, and of course her own people, James Carville, what's the other guy's name? Stanley, no, Sidney Blumenthal, of course, David Brock today. All of those people, they're involved in the same type of system as the one she's claiming the Republicans are engaged in. It's the same model. It's a mirror image. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous that she would pretend that she has some sort of moral high ground while saying that civility can come after the election. I would say that by saying this, Hillary Clinton has basically come down off of any moral, she never had the moral high ground, but rhetorically, she's pretty much conceded that it is really just a political charade. And I'll tell you what, I've been watching a number of things. I was just watching a little earlier. I didn't get to see the entire video. Tom Binnz reaction to this as well. And I would say that what Hillary Clinton is doing is a textbook of exactly how to motivate people to vote against your party. And I guess there's no secret. In Tom's case, he's really kind of a full-on conservative. In my case, I guess I'm also kind of an independent, conservative-leaning independent, and everybody has an issue that they really lock onto as the one that they think is one of the more important ones. In his case, it would be the Second Amendment. In my case, I would say if a candidate supports school choice, I think that's the highest priority for me. And then after that would probably be opposition to Obamacare. And then there's a variety of other issues. I am pro-life, I am pro-Second Amendment, things like that. Reducing the defense budget would be a huge plus. You have to look at a basket of issues that, she talked about the basket of deplorables. Forget about the basket of deplorables. If she was really a serious person who wanted to reach out to voters and get them to change their mind about something, why is it that you never hear her views on actual concrete policies? You never do. And we talk a lot of shit on this channel too. We talk a lot of smack on this channel. But I've published a number of ideas about housing. In April, I believe I wrote a whole idea of how to reform the New York housing system, NYCHA. Also, I talked about reforming the NCAA. So some dude in front of a bookshelf in Ohio has more policy ideas than the woman who was Secretary of State and the nominee for president from the Democratic Party. Okay, and I think that there's a lot of people on YouTube that have a lot more innovative ideas than this person, than Hillary Clinton. And the fact is that what she should have been doing, what the Democratic Party as a whole should have been doing, was putting together a real coherent agenda to attract people to their message. And the agenda is not about the opponent. Okay, is defeating the opponent important? Yes. Is undermining Trump important? Yes. If you're a Democrat, putting yourself into their shoes, of course it's important, because you have to think about winning, and one way to win is weakening the person that you're fighting against. But once you were to win, of course you have to have some goals in mind, and it's important at the outset to have those goals in mind. The 2016 campaign was one where the Democrats had no visible goals. It was a mystery to their own voters, the progressive voters as well as mainstream liberal voters, what Hillary Clinton was going to do on a variety of issues, because she wouldn't tell the truth. She had the public and private position with Goldman Sachs, with respect to Goldman Sachs. She had the whole, what about the nonsense of, I think she had over $1 billion in campaign donations or super PAC money, that type of thing. A lot of people on the left, and some people on the right as well, and I'm open to this too, believe in campaign finance reform to the extent that they would completely end, dark money in politics, and go to some sort of federal allotment system or something. I think that I'm open to an idea like that. She didn't talk about that at all. Didn't mention it at all. And that's why Bernie Sanders was able to run up so many points against her and she was lucky to hold on. Not just lucky, she had to basically uh, cut the brakes out of his campaign in order to win. She had to play dirty with somebody who did have ideas, even if some of them were bad ideas. I would say the majority of them were bad ideas. But she had to really cheat in order to defeat her main competition. Now you're looking 2 years later, and has she evolved as a person? Has she evolved in terms of message? Has she improved herself and absorbed the real failures, her personal failures in that campaign, and by the way, also the failures of the people around her? Okay, no, she's basically an unrepentant failure of a human being. And it's the same idea when you're talking about all this other stuff, which is not quite as important, but we'll mention here in passing, with Kanye West and CNN making fun of him on live TV. Basically, I think one of them called him a Negro that can't read. That was Bakari Sellers, or yeah, I think he said black people who don't read. That's what you get when that's what happens when Kanye West speaks about politics. It's basically when black people don't read. That's what you get. Unbelievable that they would put somebody who is himself a former politician. He's a black politician, but still, a former state legislator from South Carolina, as if that's a big accomplishment, to comment on the views of somebody who I don't think are very coherent. I don't really care about what Kanye West says. I think he's entitled to do whatever the hell he wants. But put yourself in. I mean, who do you think has accomplished more? A person who has written, who's basically composed and produced. Produced is the better word. Produced and performed some of the highest selling albums of the past 15 years, and is basically a world icon, or some suit that used to be in the South Carolina legislature, who now works for CNN in Atlanta, and basically carries water for Don Lemon and his ilk. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Why should Bakari Sellers laugh at Kanye West? Kanye West is the person who continues to go through from success to success. You don't have to agree with what he says. I think, to a certain extent, what he says doesn't even seem to. It just, it's not really that coherent at all. But he's not running for office. On the other hand, in the same breath, in the past 2 days, somebody who is running for office, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has said that she wants to abolish the Electoral College because I think she said it was like a remnant of slavery and everything. This is the same woman who said that she can't wait to get into Congress, where after she gets inaugurated, you don't get inaugurated into Congress, you get sworn in, she will get to sign bills into law. Okay, that's so that they're not raking her over the coals for that, even though she's the actual person running for office and she's almost assured of getting in. But they're going after Kanye West because he happens to be a very visible, successful, and culturally relevant person who happens to disagree with their point of view, and they can exploit certain character weaknesses of his. He does have mental health issues, from what I've heard. But they're basically they're exposing themselves for just how empty they are. I don't think if Bernie Sanders had been the nominee in 2016 and he would have lost, I don't think he would have behaved this way. I think for all that I criticize him for, I think he would have had a little more self-respect than to display this type of arrogance that Hillary Clinton does. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, because there's a lot of things that he surprised me on negatively. The other thing is, there's also this whole thing with Taylor Swift that some people are talking about. There's actually a number of white nationalists that are really pissed off for stupid reasons, that they're very surprised that Taylor Swift, a Hollywood musical artist, would have very progressive views, or some sort of superficial version of that. So that's kind of stupid. A lot of people are freaking out about Taylor Swift. I want you guys to know that I was watching before recording this a debate in Tennessee where she is primarily campaigning for senatorial candidate Governor Phil Bredesen, the former governor of Tennessee. She's campaigning for him against Marsha Blackburn, who is a Republican Congresswoman. I don't think that Taylor Swift has a chance of affecting anything there. Okay, I don't think it really matters. I think that Taylor Swift of 2018 is the LeBron. She's the LeBron James of 2018. LeBron James in 2016 wrote op-eds and made appearances here in Ohio the year that he won a world championship, an NBA championship. He made appearances and wrote op-eds for Hillary Clinton, and basically did a sellout blitz, if you want to use that expression, in order to get her uh, across the finish line here in Ohio. She never even made it within 5% of Donald Trump in Ohio, from what I remember, and she just got trounced. In the polling, she was already behind. In the end, she almost lost by 10 points in Ohio, which used to be a swing state. Hillary Clinton, just so you understand, did worse in Ohio. Not just much. She did. Of course, Barack Obama won the state, so she lost the state that Barack Obama won twice. But she did worse in Ohio than the previous Democratic candidates that had failed here. Al Gore, who was pretty close, and John Kerry. She was so bad. I think it was the worst result of a presidential candidate in Ohio of either party since 1988. Depending on whether you went by percentage or by vote tally, I think by vote tally it was the worst since 1988, and by percentage it was the worst since 1984. Hillary Clinton was an awful candidate. So now you have Taylor Swift basically mimicking LeBron James behavior, and Hillary Clinton is still in the background. Chuck Schumer is still in the background. People are still remembering these people. They still view them. They can't just focus on Phil Bredesen as a candidate. He's being basically the Republicans can successfully now paint him as being part of a larger picture of a party that you can't trust to do anything right. That is, very out of step with the values of certain uh, states of the country. And I know I'm generalizing, but I don't think that the ideas of the Democratic Party as a whole, irrespective of Phil Bredesen, uh, are reflective of what people in Tennessee believe. I think a lot of people in Tennessee would say that the Democratic Party doesn't really resonate with what they want. The Tennessee is now an auto producing state. The farmers there, I don't believe, are looking to support some of these free trade policies that the Democrats are fully willing to go along with. They do not support teachers unions, from what I know. A lot of people in Tennessee do want school choice. It's very, very difficult for me to understand why people are so bent out of shape. The fact that they're recruiting Taylor Swift and basically they're conscripting her into the service. You could say Hollywood is basically press ganging her into the service in order to save Phil Bredesen's campaign. It just shows how desperate they are. Taylor Swift, by the way, I checked this, and I have nothing against her, and she can say whatever she wants, and I don't really know. I know that she did take a couple shots at Marsha Blackburn, which is her right. But she said one of the things she said was that Marsha Blackburn's decision to vote for Kavanaugh, if she could, that's kind of that's degrading towards women. I mean, let's bring it up. While we're here, Taylor Swift, Marsha, here the Tennessean, which is I think the largest circulation paper in Tennessee. So she said these are not my Tennessee values. Swift specifically noted Blackburn's vote against. Okay, here we go. Against reauthorizing the Violence Against Women Act, versions of which Blackburn has opposed in recent years. She also condemned Blackburn's stance against marriage equality. These are not my Tennessee values. She pledged her support for both Bredesen and U.S. Representative Jim Cooper, Democrat of Nashville, but didn't mention former Nashville Mayor Carl Dean, the Democratic gubernatorial So that guy's not even gonna. He has no chance of winning. By the way, the governor's race I think is really settled. And they said that the polls are tightening, but it's not actually that tight. I think one poll I saw was like 11 points in favor of Blackburn, and another one was like 8. And you see the comments are just, nobody cares what she says. All these people from Tennessee, they don't care. It's the same idea. It's ridiculous. People do not care what Taylor Swift says. And by the way, she says these are not my Tennessee values. I looked it up. Taylor Swift was born in Pennsylvania and lived there until the age of 14. Then she moved to Nashville in order to pursue a country music career. And, a few years later, of course, she's touring and already. She kind of crossed over from country music into mainstream pop. So she doesn't, I mean, I think she lives there part of the time. And she also, of course, tours around the world. What does she have to say about Tennessee values? I think the people who live in Tennessee, they don't need necessarily either politicians or celebrities to tell them about their values. Like I said, there's people who I think each individual has the right to determine their values. I think for example, I was talking about Tom. He has like values that are very strong for the Second Amendment. I have another friend, Adrian, who is really talking a lot about freedom of speech, for example. I have another friend, Lennon McCarthy, same thing, freedom of speech. We all agree on freedom of speech, so we have a common value between us. But within that, me and Adrian, we disagree on religion, and I'm sure that every person has a difference of opinion on a lot of things. So basically, Taylor Swift is talking about Tennessee values, but if you look historically, Tennessee doesn't support anything she's talking about. She's really looking at a very narrow section of Tennessee of people that happen to overlap with her belief system. Maybe some of the new Tennesseans, the people who have moved into Nashville, and I don't know about Memphis, but some of these, the new South, the developing South. That's what she represents. But she doesn't represent the traditional people of the Smoky Mountains region, or we're really talking about somebody who is just projecting her own fame on a state that doesn't necessarily feel represented by her. I mean, you think about Tennessee traditionally as a state that was one of the first volunteer. It's called the volunteer state. It was one of the first frontier states. It had, there was Davy Crockett. There was the Tennessee Valley Dam, stuff like that. What does Tennessee really represent? I don't know. It's as good of it's as good of a guess for you as it is of me, for me. But you're not going to discover anything from having this Hollywood celebrity come in and throw her weight around. With all due respect to her, I think she's certainly entitled to her opinion. I think even celebrities I don't like, I think they can have their opinion. I really don't like Roger Waters. At the same time, I don't believe in boycotting his concerts and picketing them and stuff like that. I think that the best way to show your displeasure with somebody you don't like is to simply not show up, or tell people, well, why would you go and support this person? And by the way, I think the best determinant is taste. Okay, I think you can still disagree with a certain celebrity or artist, performer, and still buy their art or still appreciate what they do. But I think in this case she's kind of made a mistake. It's not a good idea what she's doing, unless of course she's going to end up selling more records across the world. But I don't think that this is the way to do politics in the 21st century, especially not in this new age of populism, right? I mean, how many celebrities have already endorsed Democrats, and it doesn't really make any dent in their opponents, because the Republicans, whether you like it or not, they have succeeded very much in focusing on the issues and focusing on the things that they find important. And the Democrats, to a lesser extent, I don't think that they've really succeeded at that. A lot of Democrats support Medicare for all, sorry. A lot of Democrats are unwilling to chart any position on healthcare. You don't know what the hell they're talking about. Or they retreat. They go from one to the other. In the primary, they'll support Medicare for all. In the general election, they kind of retreat because they need to go after centrist voters. Republicans don't have to do that because they straight up say they're against Obamacare and they're against Medicare for all. The Republicans have staked out a much clearer position on that. The Republicans are 100% pro Second Amendment most of the time. The Democrats are all over the place on it. Some people say they want certain restrictions. Some people say they want the assault weapons ban. Some people say they want this mental health screening. Some people say, they can't shut up about the gun show loophole, which, to my understanding, is a myth. So it's really a problem of messaging with the Democrats. I'm not telling people what to vote for here. If you want to vote for the Democrat or you want to vote for the Republican, I don't think that you're going to change your mind based on what I say. I'm just giving my opinion that what the method of politics that Hillary Clinton is pursuing is actually helping people solidify their views against her. And I don't think it's helping people, get on board with her. I really don't think people are getting converted to her cause. And with Taylor Swift, I really don't understand her messaging. It's almost as if she woke up one day and realized that, I come from a state where, unfortunately, a lot of people don't like abortion. A lot of people are also, not exactly favorable to gay people. Well, I'm sorry, but I know people from Tennessee, and it's very common over there. Nothing you can do. You can disagree with it or you can agree with it, but you can't just project yourself as really representing Tennessee values or something. That's about it. I think I'm gonna send this to either Tom or, well, probably to Tom also, McCarthy. Just want to hear a couple replies, but yeah. Beside, anybody out there, please leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this. Whether it's Taylor Swift or Kanye West, if you think that either of them is kind of in over their head. Of course, what happened with Hillary Clinton. There's a bunch of other topics that I haven't been able to cover just because I'm kind of busy with the writing. So please like the video, comment when it uploads, share the video, subscribe to this channel, subscribe to my second channel, Razor Ray Live Wounds, and I'll talk to you later. And enjoy your Thursday.